actually going to be a very powerful panel. It is going to be moderated by Dr. Florence Wambugu, the founder of Africa Harvest Biotech Foundation International. And on that panel, we'll also have Dr. Lusike Wasilwa, who you just listened to before we went for the picture and the tea. We'll have Dr. Caroline Nanchinga, Assistant Commissioner, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Uganda. We'll have Mr. Abdel Negash Said, Head of Horticulture Development Department, Ministry of Agriculture, Ethiopia. That is going to be our very, very, very powerful panel from the region. As you can see, we have got representation from Kenya, from Uganda, and from Ethiopia, the three countries that we are focusing on here. And Dr. Florence Wambugu is going to be guiding us in this discussion. I'm going to be requesting the panel to take their seats as I introduce them. They're going to be led by Dr. Florence Wambugu. Let's put our hands together as we welcome Dr. Florence Wambugu, the founder of Africa Harvest Biotech Foundation International. She is there. I'm going to be reading her profile shortly. We then have Dr. Lusike Wasilwa. You have just heard from her. You know, she had a very sexy topic, and we are in for a good discussion. We have got Dr. Caroline Nanchinga. Please come to the front. And then Abdullah Negash Said, we are waiting for you. Thank you very, very much. Let me give you a little bit, welcome. Let me give you a bit of bio for each of our panelists. This, we are very blessed. We are very richly blessed to have a very good turnout, but also a very good, shall I say, a very rich resource here. Dr. Florence Wambugu is the founding director and chief executive officer of Africa Harvest Biotech Foundation International, also known as Africa Harvest since 2002. She's a plant pathologist with specialization in virology. She holds a PhD from the University of Bath, England, 1991. She's a postdoctoral research associate in genetic engineering, biotechnology, a life science company in USA, and holds honorary Doctor of Science from University of Bath, England, 2008. Dr. Wambugu has successfully provided leadership in public and private partnership and scientific consortium for implementation of various major projects for crops and tree improvement. For more than 30 years, she has dedicated her life to agricultural research, where she has made significant contribution to the improvement of sorghum, maize, pyrethrum, banana, sweet potato, with significant impact on the livelihoods and livelihoods of our smallholder farmers. I'm just having a chat with her, and having read her bio, I was just wondering how much we recognize our very, very rich resource. And she just told me a very good story of where she was invited and traveled first class to be recognized elsewhere, not in Africa. Hallelujah. Right, and again on the panel we have got Dr. Wasilwa, Lusike Wasilwa, and I already introduced her, so I will not waste your time reading her bio again. Let me quickly move on to Abdullah Negash Said. Abdullah is specialized in horticulture, MSc, and has been serving for more than 22 years with different technical responsibilities as well as managerial positions in different government organizations back in Ethiopia. He is currently playing a prominent role for the agriculture development sector, policy and strategic reforms. He has an enormous experience with working with different government organizations, NGOs, development partners, private sector, horticultural, agricultural investors, small-scale horticulture, outgrowers, and the list goes on and on and on. Let's put our hands together and appreciate our brother as he takes his place. We then have got Caroline I struggle with this. Nankinga. I'm used to this thing where in Uganda, every K is cha. Now here, I don't know whether to say Nankinga or Nanchinga. Nanchinga. Okay, she has corrected me. She is the Assistant Commissioner, Phytosanitary and Quarantine Inspection Services, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, Department of Crop Inspection and Certification, and she's a senior researcher with the National Agriculture Research Organization, NARO. She has over 28 years work experience in agricultural research. As a principal investigator in NARO and collaborating with national and international scientists, she has developed integrated management options for quarantine pests of horticulture, such as fruit flies and false codling moth. She has also supervised several MSc and PhD students in horticulture. As Assistant Commissioner, she works with agriculture inspectors to facilitate trade in the context of the WTO agreements on sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Caroline provides technical support to develop capacity of public and private sector to meet SPS, food safety and quarantine requirements, with emphasis to fruits, vegetable, international trade, to restrictive markets like US, EU, and other industrialized countries. As I mentioned, the topic that they are going to be discussing is a situational analysis of the horticultural landscape for income and nutrition, focus fruits, vegetable and herb crops, and priority value chains. So let's put our hands together as I hand over the program to our sister, Dr. Florence, to guide us from there. Let's appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and it's a joy and pleasure to be here, and it was a quick invitation, but I appreciated it. I say like my sister Rusike that when I hear horticulture, I jump and leave whatever else I was doing because I'm very, very passionate about this area of horticulture. It's been like a survival area in Kenya in so many ways. Let me also recognize my footprints. I was a researcher in Cali for 12 years, and I think that is something we must recognize. Cali have been apparent to so many of us where we grew and developed before we moved on to other things. And a little bit behind, let me say that from where I'm coming from a very rural and a very challenging background, my desire to join research and everything I do was really looking at science to answer problems that my mother was facing as a mother with 6 children and many other mothers. We could hardly get food as I grew up. I believe the solution was in science, the solution was in studies. And then finally, as I acquired so much education, you heard about my degrees, I still didn't feel satisfied that I was doing what I was called to do, and I jumped out of that. I just went to what I call non-for-profit sector to try to bridge that gap between research, which had all the high science I had. I realized farmers are not eating genes, they are not eating research, they are eating crops. And it's in that zeal and still burns in my heart to see that whether we carry research, and I appreciate every effort here and what I do, finally we have to deliver a product to the farmer that makes a difference to them. Even as we think research, and I'm a researcher and publication, and I've done books, there has to be something that Norman Borlaug used to take it to the farmer. What are we taking to the farm beyond research, beyond meetings, beyond what? What are we taking to the farmer? That will be like a motivation of my life. And so with that, let me start by giving, as a moderator, a little background, and then each one of us are going to present. And within the time that we have, and I think we're missing one, but probably that's more room for my sister Rusike to continue some more interesting discussions. From my background, among the things, the first thing I did when I moved from the academic and that and high-level work and high-level private sector in the United States, I first asked myself, what could I do that could make a difference to the farmers? And the first thing working with the Kenya Agriculture Research, you saw my background, there was a late director there, Dr. Delito. By then, we are talking about 1980s. 1996, 1997, the banana, which is a horticulture, was really devastated in Kenya. There was little importing bananas from Uganda. There was serious challenges with diseases. Seedlings were not there. There was really no seed systems, and the banana price had gone like over 500 times the price. Bananas were unavailable. And so I'm talking about reality on the ground. It was a very, very challenging situation. And I'm going to put some things which are cross-cutting, whether we are talking avocado, we are talking gooseberry, we are talking about horticulture crops, and then they are going to resonate with this panel. Because the things I'm saying are cross-cutting, reality on the ground, even as we do research, because finally we need to link that research. And I see that's what even my sister is doing here with gooseberry. And so, reality on the ground, I made a trip to South Africa. I realized South Africa was actually doing banana as a major crop, even exporting. And they do not have a climate like we have. It's done in Zanin Valley at a very challenging situation. But they were even in export. The other country that's exporting banana is Cameroon. But here in the tropics, and this is a beautiful horticulture crop, important for food, for children, we could hardly, banana could only come in from Uganda, the wrong varieties. And so we started research. And so research with the Kali. Learning from South Africa, we had a project funded by AIDRC Rockefeller Foundation to help transfer technology and acclimatize it and do research what varieties, the devastating issues which we are going to face is sigatoka, poor seed system, farmers have no information, all kinds of challenges. So we started research and wood trials all over Kari, where there are all the area where bananas grow. And then from there, to cut the long story short, then we started the campaign of looking for laboratories, investors, tissue culture labs that could start producing seedlings. And then information networking, field trials, all kinds of things. And that way, over time, now we've been in this for almost 20 years. Today, if you ask a farmer in Kenya about banana, they'll tell you, you get seeding from a lab. They have transformed the landscape of bananas in Kenya. And it's a success story that is untold because it now goes by itself, but we did the work, and many other joined. Even we had a project with USAID FinTrack. Over there, in fact, over these years, it's an amazing when I look at the array of funders who came to help build this value chain and internalize it. And that's why I want to say that what we are doing cannot be done overnight. We need to think long-term strategy. I was looking at really the kind of work we had to do, and the kind of, we are talking from, believe me, from 1994, 2004 to 2018, we had work that we had work done, funded, believe me, by Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. We had USAID, FinTrack, we had AGRA, we had Rockefeller, IDRC, all kinds of, even some companies. But over that long period of incremental knowledge, building capacity, bringing varieties, introducing, informing, we have moved almost all the banana growing areas of Kenya. That's just an example. We have to do the same for avocado, for passion, for mangoes, for where. And we have developed a sustainable system where things are literally moving by themselves, although they can be improved with value adding and processing. And so as we now come to this area, and by the way, we have also worked in Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, some projects like the one funded by IFAD was regional. When we get to this area, horticulture, there has to be, the research component is very important, but beyond research, we have to think beyond research to how we get the farmers aware, how we move in numbers. This long-term projects has touched the lives of about 250,000 households where we have data. Over 600 million seedlings have been planted where we have data. Millions of money has gone to the smallholder farmers. People have come out of poverty out of this horticulture project. Lives have been sustained. Nutrition has been documented. Cash in the pocket. We have even a cash in pocket, the amount of money that farmers have put in their pocket. in dollars. So we can do the same, but there has to be a long-term thinking. There has to be leadership. There has to be thinking along the value chain and removing the barriers and bottlenecks, the barriers of knowledge, the barriers of training, capacity building. This is very strong here. The barriers of getting private sector labs or whoever, or nurseries to multiply the seedlings. You're going to find charity of the seedlings. You have created awareness. Where are the seedlings? Are they good quality? Are they carefully satisfied? We are not moving disease. Where is the pool? Are there going to be valuation to pool? Maybe who is the off-taker? Where is the market? Someone creates the market linkages. That is what you can make this a big success, as we are dreaming here. And so I think the people in this room, you are the right people, because I see us all here, there's agriculture ministry for policies. But as we dive into this panel, we have to think of the reality on the ground of making this agriculture work. It doesn't have to be like the banana, whether it's avocado, where what, but the principles is there has to be a level of investment in the knowledge, in inputs, in areas some of them need water, in information, in training, in linkages. Overall, right now, as Africa Harvest, we are consulting for Uganda and Tanzania in some areas. But what has happened, Uganda is now, the laboratories are producing considerable seedlings, as well as Tanzania. But our Tanzania's labs are doing well, but there's no market for their seedlings. Kenya, because we provided a lot of outreach, there's a lot of demand for banana seedlings, but there's not enough seedlings. Some of the people are importing from Israel, South Africa, from all kinds of places. So very, very interesting scenario as we go by. With that, I think let's start the first questions that we are going to be tackling as a panel. Is a horticulture good? Here we go. I can do it online. I can do it like this. So with those brief, we got our panelists here, very, very able panelists that were very well introduced. The first question is the horticulture sector in Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia playing its critical role in food and nutritional security, income generation, employment, livelihood, and rural development? We can start with you, my dear sister here on my right.
Thank you, Dr. Mbogo. Good morning, everyone. Caroline Nanching Americo-Kiza is my name. Just briefly, I'm a senior research scientist in the National Agriculture Research Organization, NARO. At the same time, I'm Assistant Commissioner for Phytosanitary and Quarantine. But for this discussion, because of the theme, I will discuss in the form of the government, but also move away and wear another hat as a farmer, because we are talking about the grassroots person. So, to answer the question, I will say yes. And for a very long time, horticulture, we say it's producing a lot of money, 42% of the GDP, agriculture in general. All these facts are already put in the so many papers that Dr. Lasike gave us in the morning, and we cannot deliberate a lot. But as you are saying, yes, it's producing a lot of money, it's producing a lot of livelihood, it's helping a lot of our farmers. There are questions that Dr. Lasike kept on giving us. Okay, if it's that important, how come we are not realizing the impacts and the profitability of whatever we are doing? So I'd like to move away a bit and say, yes, it's doing a good, but there are a number of things that have failed us to realize the real potential that we would have wished to have. I would like to say, as I said, I'm in the government, but I'm also a farmer. And this is the reason why I say it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing because of the following reasons. For a very long time, when I left school, I've been seeing in the papers, in the literature, when you are talking about background in horticulture. Horticulture in Uganda is predominantly in the rural environment, where 84% of the people depend on it. And since 1990, when I joined research, this figure has not changed. It is still predominantly rural and supporting 84% of the population, and it has never changed. And it keeps on changing. How come We don't move from 84% to 70 or to 50. Why is it like that? So there are a number of reasons. And having been in research and developing a lot of technologies for farmers in bananas, in mangoes, in oranges, we are always taking these technologies to farmers, but the farmers are not adopting. So I decided, no. Why are they not adopting? Because I'm now talking at the grassroots farmer. Let me also give it a try. Rather than disseminating the theory and whatever, let me go and do farming. What is really happening on the ground? Why are the farmers not adopting? So sometime in 2003, I started farming. Because we've been promoting a lot of mangoes, horticulture mangoes and citrus for commercial farmers. So I took about 11 varieties of the mangoes. I went on the farm to farm myself. At the same time, planting a plantation to make sure it's going to be my retirement package. So after like 3-4 years, I said, okay, these grafted mangoes should be producing a lot of money for me. How come these farmers are not getting the money? After 4 years, I was hit. I thought the mangoes were very good, but I was hit with these pests and diseases. Fruit fly this time. I took my boxes to reach the farm, all my mangoes were down. Then I said, oh, this is why these farmers are always telling us we cannot get money out of this one. So I started research on developing technologies for managing the fruit fly because it was a very, very big constraint. So I went there and developed fruit fly traps, developed the integrated pest management to manage the fruit flies. Up to now, I'm still struggling. Because even if my mangoes remain and they are not attacked by the pests and diseases, still when I go to the market, still I cannot sell them because there are blockers there. So I said, how are we going to make our farmers on the grassroots realize these good technologies we are always taking to them? So I've come to learn that we are blaming the farmers not to adopt or not getting money because there are so many other factors on the ground. I told you I went with 11 varieties of mangoes because they are commercial, these Tommy Atkins, the apples, the Glens, the Gaines, and I wanted to export them. I've never exported because the pests, diseases cannot even allow me to go to the market. I cannot even take them outside the border because I'm always struggling to manage these pests which I've failed to manage. So this is what the ordinary farmer is facing. And in Uganda, we are busy promoting through Operation Earth Creation to promote all these citrus varieties, mango varieties, but the farmers are not getting there. So after like 20 years, I said, maybe there's nothing we're doing right. For fruits and vegetables, I think we need to define our own niches. We've been emphasizing a lot of exotic varieties, which farmers have failed to grow profitably and sustainably because of the so many constraints on the ground. And when Dr. Rasika was giving us the jackfruit, the gooseberry, I said, how come we don't concentrate on this? Because for us in Uganda, gooseberry, we just go to the bush, gather them, and then take them to the street. The jackfruit, we just go to the bush, pick it, and then take it to the street. Some of them. So I think it's high time, Dr. Rusiki said, how do we do this? It's high time as farmers in the horticulture, look at our own niches. If the exotic ones cannot work for us, can we look at the local or the indigenous varieties of fruit that can be profitably grown? They are less vulnerable to pests and diseases. They are less vulnerable to all these pressures because the horticulture is a very risky venture for our farmers. So that is my contribution, Dr. Rusiki. That's what I've learned as a farmer. We need to look at those niches. Let's look at those. What are those things that we can grow that can make us get there? Thank you.
Thank you very much. much. I think here there's a panel of ground truthing, which is the best for this meeting, so that as researchers go ahead. So our next questions are going to, thank you so much, Caroline, for that, because it's really good to know what's going on the ground. Our next speaker is going to be Mr. Abdullahi Nagasha Said, and I want to ask you to think about a number of questions, and they are cross-cutting because we don't have too much time. What are some of the challenges, opportunities in the horticulture sector in the three countries, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia? And are there deliberate efforts at the national level to address these bottlenecks, hindering these developments, competitiveness, horticulture sector again? So we look at it on both sides. Thank you very much. You got, let's say, about 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting us to share our experiences and to make such type of platform for horticulture industry. I think the question is directly to challenges in horticulture. And as per the Ethiopian condition, there are different challenges in the horticulture subsector because it is an infant industry in our country, and it's dominated by the cereals, and also the policy the previous policy directly focused on the cereal-based agriculture. So I can't say that we are, profitable and even get the major results from horticulture, because there is a policy and strategic gap before 3 to 5 years, but nowadays we have a strategy on horticulture, and also we have developed the horticulture policy and roadmap this time, and we are, I think, on the track. But there are different challenges in horticulture, especially on the investment part. There is a gap of breeders' rights, but recently we are developing on different proclamation on this aspect. And also a certification issue is also a challenge. There is no certifying agent in the country. Even we don't have also local good agricultural practice. And the other issue is phytosanitary service and facility, especially lab for molecular testing, and other is a bottleneck. And also limited research, especially to support the commercial horticulture investment, and lack of coordination between different stakeholders. And also the other challenge is limited availability of foreign currency. As per the smallholder farmers, research and extension is the major challenge. Limited research due to limited resource. Maybe this will be discussed more when Dr. Salamoit engaged on the panel. Seed and seedling is critical to our country. Without seed and seedling, the development of horticulture is impossible. So seed multipliers and seedling multipliers are crucial in our country. and we need to expand and facilitate the seed and seedling multipliers in our country. And scattered and unorganized supply chain is the smallholder farmers, producers bottleneck. This makes them poor market linkage and other issues to be profitable in this sector. And marketing, facilitation, transporting, and logistics are also the smallholder farmers producers challenge. Recently we have started cluster production of horticulture and cluster-based called transport to logistics nodes, but it's an infant stage, so we need to do more about the logistic, transportation, and facilitation of the market. The other issue is access to finance. Access to finance to our smallholder farmers, producers is also a challenge. Recently, the government reformed its policies, and then maybe one of the issue is agricultural bank and insurance for our producers. So we have to try to include those issues in our policies. The other issue is the extension service. The extension service mainly focused on cereal-based agriculture. The horticulture and livestock part is ignored previously, but recently the horticulture get higher priority in the government. So because the extension service, to give the extension service, knowledge and skill is important. Because like other horticulture, other agricultural commodities, like cereals, one cannot produce horticulture. It needs a skill, and also knowledge. So the other issue is no mature cooperative in the horticulture subsector. In the other sectors, maybe there is ample amount of different experiences, but as per the horticulture, it is limited. The other issue is lack of common packaging and grading facilities in the horticulture value chain. Those are the challenges, but recently we have developed different policy and guidelines to support the horticulture subsector. And also, as per the consumption, we have, dietary-based food, dietary food-based guideline, and the other is Ethiopian food system is also developed recently. So we have almost 6 clusters and 22 6 clusters and 22 yeah, 22 game-changing solutions in this aspect. So we have to go to implement the Ethiopian food systems in the near future. Maybe this will help us to have also the horticultural commodities like vegetables and fruits are crucial for malnutrition and other aspects of the health condition.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we are hearing another theme here in Ethiopia, and the cross-cutting is when you come to the whole value chain, the crops that are exportable. And just remember, for example, this country have a huge export market in flowers and some vegetable like French beans and so on, which are highly supported by the government, highly supported by cafes and all that. So the area that's suffering is actually the food, nutrition, which helps the ordinary people. That's what the suffering is. But these countries have a very well-coordinated horticulture for export. And that goes across the board, actually. The crops that people feed on are the ones which are neglected. The ones that for export are highly supported by the government. Now, our next speaker is the one who you already know very well. And I will tell her to focus on the last question. Are there any regional, national, sub-regional effort strategies to increase production and consumption of fruits and vegetables? If you can give us last one, because the rest have all been touched on, then we can move to the next level of discussions. Yeah, the last one. Thank you.
Yes.
Much,
we do have several regional strategies that have been put in place. And one of them I mentioned, but I was speaking so fast, is the one on commercialization of the fruit subsector. There's a big promotion now for making fruit pulp, fruit juice, because what that does, it helps in reducing post-harvest losses, because most of these fruits will be mature about the same time, then there's a glut, then we lose a lot. But now, if the farmers can adopt good production practices, and then these fruits can be aggregated in aggregation sites, hopefully by the youth. And then now we have all these industries that are in place to do the pulp. But we're very low, because in Tanzania, the food processing is about 12%. I didn't get Uganda. Kenya, we're at 3% fruit processing. It's so low. So we're actually, for EAC, we're between 3 and 12% for food processing. Yet this is a potential, because once you've made the pulp and the juices, then everything can be made, from the wines you saw out there to the sweets and everything else, even to the fragments or for the different foods, the oils and the rest. So that's where the EAC is trying to go to look at fruits and harness what they have. And then with the byproducts, now you're getting animal feeds, you're even getting products for soil fertility management. So fruit is one that is easy, because we've got a very high, diverse number of fruits, and quite a number of them are being commercialized. So those are some of the areas. The other one is on vegetables. So that's why we now have the fruit and vegetable strategy, regional strategy for the EAC. Vegetables are the other ones. We have many of them. Of course, there's the focus of the export ones, but right now we're trying to move to our traditional vegetables, because they're only available at a short time. So what can we do in terms of value adding them, drying them, packaging them? Like in the United States, they have the bunch greens in the southern states, where they are blanched and packaged into small packets enough for 2 people. So you just take out, microwave, and eat. So even such things now need to happen here, because, again, we lose a lot. When they're there, there are too many. And then they go, and we have 3 to 5 months of no vegetables. We're just eating carbohydrates. So those are some of the things the EAC is now focusing on in the fruit and vegetable subsector, and also others like herbs and spices that have been forgotten, because to have these things tasting nice, if you have orange juice pulp and then you add ginger, it kicks it up a notch into another thing. And those are the kind of things that are being promoted in terms of even packaging. You saw what University of Nairobi has done out there. In the United States, when they have juice, fruit juice, it's frozen in a container about this size, and you just open it. It's actually made out of paper. There's some aluminum on top and the bottom. You open, put it in a jar, and add 3 to 4 cups of water based on your taste of sugar. And you drink that, and most of this, the sugar has no additives. So it's healthy. And those are the things that we now need to do in the EAC, is when we're processing, we don't always have to add sodium benzoate. Now that we have electricity and these solar technologies and whatever, how can we best value add these pulps and into the various products with the minimal introduction of things to preserve them, therefore that affect us negatively. So we are really focusing on these areas of value addition, because now you're involving the youth, you have a wide diversity of fruit. And, I chose the picture from Southern Sudan because Southern Sudan is a new entry in the EAC, and most people think nothing is happening there, but there's a lot happening. They have huge plantations. And Ethiopia, I know a little bit too much about Ethiopia. Ethiopia, what he was talking about, the cluster, he didn't give you the hectareage. You can't even believe it. Huge, what Ethiopia is doing. And that's what will have to happen, like in countries like Tanzania, in some places of Kenya. Kenya, we've begun with avocado, where we're growing these huge hectares to feed into this fruit pulp and juice. We have to have huge hectareage. Yeah, but most of our farmers, 80% are smallholder. But if we aggregate them, as they've done in Ethiopia, the clustering, then that cluster becomes a huge farm of very many farmers, and it works. And we know it has worked in Kenya with the smallholder system and export horticulture. So it can be done in the EAC, and these are some of the things the fruit and vegetable strategy are embracing. And that's a beautiful document to read. You see where the East African community is going, and what things have been put in place just for our governments to support financially and have these things be actualized. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think that's excellent, because we need a pull instead of a push. We don't want to produce and there's no market. Or we produce and it's going rotten. The post-harvest losses must go down. And I think these regional efforts are excellent. What is also needed along that is the growth of the private sector to scale up. Like the efforts I see here in these posters, they are very good for drying. The next thing is the private sector to learn with it so that it can be scalable and it can have big impact. Now let's hear from Caroline regarding what Uganda is doing in terms of increasing per capita fruit and vegetable uptake, other than banana, of course, and also how you're engaging the youth in a serious way. And I know Rusika touched on that. How we engage those two things, engaging the youth. And let me add something else. I think now we are going to the African trade, the free trade area. And that open opportunity in Africa trade area beyond East Africa is going to create a huge market for horticulture. Beyond saying we are going to export to Europe, there's a huge opportunity to trade internally. So this business you are showing about processing, value adding, and being able to package from perishability to unperishable goods need to really take another dimension where investments need to go to create the demand pool, many of takers, so as to create a huge opportunity for horticulture. Yes, Caroline. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Government is doing a lot of things, and of course fitting to the industrialization program, the VEAC. Right now in the country, you have the National Development Plan 3, and this development plan has got about 18 programs. But the main one is agriculture industrialization, which is being driven by the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries. Of course, industrializing agriculture, not only crops, but also animals and fisheries and the like. But because we are talking about horticulture, I'm going to concentrate on the horticulture sector. Under the agro-industrialization program, of course, fitting into the bigger EAC program, we have a number of, we have a pillar, or the parish development model, which is going to help us to drive all developmental activities to the grassroots. And this parish development model, of course, has got so many other pillars, which also involves agro-industrialization. And in the agro-industrialization, we look at the value chain from production, pre-production, where we look at how can the grassroots farmer access the inputs that he uses to do production. We look at production, we look at post-harvest, post-harvest storage, handling, until to the markets. And the markets is not only domestic, we also look at the regional markets and the export market, where my department really concentrates on. But we also have other programs. So under the we are emphasizing at the ministry to make sure that through the parish development model, working with the local government, and we are using the parish at the lowest level of development at the community level, we shall be able to reach the youth, we shall be able to reach the women, the disadvantaged groups, and all those guys that are seemingly not to be seen at the central government. And within this one, as Minister of Agriculture, we're trying to see how do we get the right inputs, the quality inputs, because it's a very, very big challenge now for agriculture in general, even in horticulture. Farmers don't have the right seeds. If they are going, plant protection products are not very good. So for us as regulators, we're trying to emphasize that whatever goes to the grassroots farmer is properly regulated. If they are plant protection products or agrochemicals, they are the right ones, because we have a lot of counterfeits. We make sure that we do the regulation. My department regulates seeds. My department regulates agro inputs, chemicals, and also deals with phytosanitary. If a farmer has produced, how do we export to the outside world? So we emphasize making sure that the farmer is getting the right things. And if they don't know, we have a program to train them. We have TOTs train the extension worker and the other private sector to make sure that the whole value chain is properly done. So as far as marketing of the produce is concerned, as far as making sure it is storage, the government has got a plan to make sure that all these facilities are put on the lower level. As we are busy making sure that we have the right labs to do the testing, we make sure that we have the cold storage in the place, we are putting all those facilities at the grassroots. Storage facilities at the parish level or the district level to make sure that whatever the farmers produce is not wasted. So we hope that through the parish development model, we shall be able to reach all these people that are vulnerable and have not been able to link into the horticulture sector.
Thank you. We have a little time remaining, and we are supposed to give the audience a chance to ask one question. But let me say that this is very good discussion, because we are really going to the grassroots, people who have worked on the ground and finding out the thing. There are two major opportunities for research in this area. If you look at East Africa, from the many years you can see most of us have been here. One of it is lack of virus indexing facilities for crops that need to be extracted from virus. The only country I know that has commercial available virus indexing facilities is South Africa. Others, we are commanding the fruit market in Africa. They have got a place where you can test your veggies, your nurseries, your what, to ensure the quality assurance is available. That's what they're able. The second thing missing in this horticulture business, a proper market facility, literally. If you go to Wakulima, where I'm sure it's the same in Uganda, fruits are being sold on the roadside, perishing. South Africa has moved, every town has got a market. And that market includes a facility with cold storage that nothing is wasted. So the market, the proper, not Wakulima market. If you go to a market, you'll be surprised what happens there. Proper market. It really cuts down post-harvest wasting, whether it's for fruits and the way they are handled. But we have we're placed for one question, and then my panelists be thinking of one parting shot, which is 1 second. Is there one hot question from the audience? Please, just one, because I've got very little time remaining. I think our time is very short. One question, if I see no hand up. So, there's one hand. Yes. Oh, two hands. Okay. Yes, please. Can someone pass a microphone? Please pass a microphone there.
Oh, no, I can speak on that.
Oh.
So there was a call for a lot of research and continued knowledge. And I was curious if you have any perspective of how to keep the research at pace with the continually changing environment. And I mean, research takes time, but there's so many things that are happening recently in our global economy and the global context that impact at the local level. So how do we speed up research and get research at pace with it to help inform decisions and things that are happening now?
I think Rusika will answer that, and Caroline, I think once we were researchers, but I think the one of us left in research is Rusike. Another one? One more on rate for the little time we have.
Okay, mine and also goes to Lusike. You mentioned that the fruit processing in Kenya is very low. It's at 3%. And maybe one of the areas we need to look at is regulation. Because you can make products, juices, the dried products, but getting that product into the market, the regulation is very prohibitive. Unfortunately, today we didn't have Kenya Bureau of Standards, but you find it becomes quite stringent for a smallholder farmer or a youth to be able to take that product into the market, because you'll need public health certificate, and then you'll need Kenya Bureau of Standards certification, you need to comply with the NEMA, then there is the issue of this Water Resource Authority. So you find that all these regulations make it quite prohibitive for startups to launch their products into the market. I don't know what, as a country, we can do to address this issue of regulatory framework. Products are there, technologies are there, but for us to market them becomes quite an issue. Thank you.
Please. You have another question online. Okay, please. There seems to be a question online. I didn't remember there is an online audience. But please go and answer, and I ask my timekeeper to give me 1 minute for this online one.
I'll be quite short. The issue of how do we keep research in pace with the constraints in Kenya and in most East Africa I sat on a board in the EAC. We can't keep pace because of the level of funding for research. For Kenya, the level of funding for agricultural research is 0.02%. And what was passed on in NEPAD is 2%. If we're at 0.02, it's impossible. So we cannot do everything that we need to do to keep at pace, but we do the best by looking at priorities and selecting those that must be addressed, like the issues of the fruit flies. We had to address that on mango because actually Kenya self-banned export of mango because of fruit flies. So we look at those priority areas and then we're able. Now the issue is all about climate smart technologies. And now we're trying to move into more ASAL areas. So one of the area that will become important is growing mango under irrigation and in places with high saline soil. So if that's the case, is now grafting mango on saline-tolerant rootstocks. So those are some of the things that we're doing to keep at pace. We have to choose, prioritize, and then do those things that hurt us. The next one, that one can take long, but I'm saving your time. Please. The issue of how we're at 3%. How do we get these products to the market? You know, now that we have the counties, and we have different frameworks in the different countries that manage agriculture. We need to go and capacity build the ground to demand from the top what they need to happen. Because I remember at one point, Kenya Bureau of Standards would actually go and mentor so that, but that was cashew nut, which is a whole different thing. It's not a fruit juice. But they would go and mentor and would make it much easier. They're able to bypass a lot of steps to get a product into the market. But that was about 2008, 2009, 2010. We've not had that anymore. It's like everybody's in a performance contract. They're trying to make money. They're not trying to see how we can get these products to the market. But now that we have the fruit and vegetable strategy, we need to revisit and really do this push again to get it so that all these bureaucracies, even though we can't bypass them, but they don't cripple and strangle the process of us trying to value add. There's so many technologies in JKUAT. There are many now coming out in University of Nairobi. There are so many in Calro. But how do we even get them out? You can't even see them. We can't even get them out. But those are the things. Let's use those same policies that have been developed to our own benefit. And now that they're coming from the EAC, and we have to anchor into those policies at the regional and continental level.
Thank you very much, Rusike. And let me also thank that we have an online audience that is quite big. And actually, 2 of my officers in Africa Harvest are online, so even when I'm not there, they'll be there. So I say thank you for these very good discussions. I would like to know which of the countries in the region has sanitary and phytosanitary standards for the fresh vegetables and fruit. If so, how does this affect the regional cross-border trade, e.g. trade between Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia? Did you answer that?
That was the presentation.
Exactly. Please touch on that quickly, because I think you did answer that. Oh, okay, please. I think Caroline, yeah, please.
Yeah,
very briefly, because of time. Yeah, thank you.
In Uganda, we do have the phytosanitary. We do have the phytosanitary and quarantine division that deals with the legislation of phytosanitary issues. However, the enabling environment is not yet there, because the policies, the SPS policies, are still work in progress. But we are having acts where we base our efforts to do the legislation. And we actually legislate also depending on the World Trade Organization and the IPPC, because they already have their own standards that we have to follow, especially if we are going to export to the international market. But on the local market, we use the acts, but the policy is still work in progress.
Some comments about Ethiopia, please. Thank you.
Yes, there is a sanitary and phytosanitary service in Ethiopia. Previously, it is under Ministry of Agriculture, but recently is reformed that Ethiopian Agriculture Authority is out of Ministry of Agriculture, so as to serve the issues of sanitary and phytosanitaries is not going with the development sector. So it's an independent organization now. So this is to strengthen the issue of phytosanitary is increment from year to year. So to answer the question of the phytosanitary issues, this strong sector maybe serve a lot in the near future, I think. Yes.
Thank you very much. I think you have 1 second, one last parting shot. One, we start with Rusike, we come to you, and one, because we're out of time. I can see our chair is out there. 1 second. Thank you for giving us.
It's all about underutilized fruits and vegetables. Let us commercialize what we grew up with. Let us commercialize Chimbunwe, Nadi, Surubali, Nyatongolo, Chinsobosobo. If you're a Kenyan, you know what I'm talking about. Let us commercialize these things and eat them and share them with all our neighbors.
Thank you very much. Yes?
Thank you. Basically, regional integration is very crucial in order to strengthen the horticulture, specifically the fruit and vegetable is very crucial. So we need to have regional integration and also to encourage the private-public partnership so as to promote the horticulture in our region, specifically East Africa.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So indigenous, regional, parting shots?
Yes. As researchers and government workers, let's lobby for our governments to support this commercialization, because we've been depending so much on donor funds, but we are not moving as fast. Let's lobby for our government to support all those niches.
Okay, my parting shot is to thank the organizers, to thank these great efforts that's come to our country. Our countries, we welcome it, and let's take it to the farmer. Let's not end up just in the research labs, at the innovation lab. Let's take it to the farmer through the whole value chain. Thank you very much. Be blessed. Thank you. Thank you, panelists.
Thank you.